listening to your number one radio station.
Hello and welcome to Alukotron's free radio station. Today we will talk a little about human relations in the aspect of forgiveness and eradication of grudges.
My American experience, baby.
Wow, I heard that Alex published a book, his first book. It's an American experience, and I'm happy that he did that, and he dedicated that book to me, which is fantastic. I don't know that I deserve it, but he did it for me, and that's amazing.
Well, can't wait to read it. Get it and read it. I'm amazed.
I can't believe Alex always surprised me.
American Experience is not just a book. It's a collection of my precious writings. It's a treasure box filled with wisdom and experience that I endure being in the United States since 1990. My American Experience, it's a work of inspiration, and I deeply believe that everyone reading this book will not only get inspired, but will have an unbelievable experience, a learning experience. Thank you for reading my book.
Without dispute, My American Experience is not merely compelling reading. It is a lesson of life to be treasured for 1,000 eternities.
You're listening to your number one radio station.
Unconditional Love by Elizabeth Lutomirsky-Kolacz. Small flirting, love affairs, without meaning and depth, shallow feelings, color fading without a trace in the oblivion of time. Sometimes the miracle of revelation, a flash of lightning, sparking, refreshing dewdrop, blue sky, a ray of sunshine, the smell of grass and flowers smile. It's more, it's love. Is it forever? Time will tell. Our children, the fruit of love, unconditional. Love that does not disappoint, but lasts forever.
Spirituality and versatility in action. You are listening to Alukotron free radio station.
Get ready. Game over.
Don't get brainwashed. Don't get keep your mind open. Mind open. Mind open. Mind open. Mind open.
Why cannot people be more upfront and honest with each other? Wouldn't that make everybody's life easier? Honesty and truth may hurt for a while, but they are perfect companions helping you to move on in the right direction in life. No one should be trapped in a dark tunnel of deceit that is putting your life on hold with false hopes. Confrontation sometimes can be such a catalyst and a big lifesaver. When you are kept in the dark, you have absolutely no idea where you are heading. Confrontation shines the light on issues that you have been avoiding to touch on for a while. It brings clarity to your mind and puts you on the right path and direction in life. But every confrontation should follow reconciliation. Now, that's a word of a golden sound, or maybe the sound of advice for modern men. I personally just love any words that are based on love or are leading towards it through the act of harmony, being in accord, meeting each other halfway by implementing compromise, and finally reaching satisfactory for both sides agreement. According to dictionary.com, reconcile is to make two apparently conflicting things compatible or consistent with each other, or to become friendly with someone after estrangement, or to re-establish friendly relations between two or more people. I see. To re-establish friendly relations between two or more people. That would suggest, in most cases, and involve the act of forgiveness in our hearts. And as Deepak Chopra beautifully stated, forgiveness in the heart comes about when the walls of separation in the mind fall. In other words, we cannot expect for any process of reconciliation to begin between two or more people unless complete forgiveness falls in place. So, in this case, do we still have the right to hold a grudge against one another? Do we really have reasonable grounds to hold grudges against our adversaries? Let's go back in time, just for a moment, to an occupied Warsaw. It is August 1st, 1944 in Poland, occupied by Germans and Soviets since the fall of 1939. The uprising against the Nazi German occupants in Warsaw has just begun. Scary noises of falling shells being dropped by the German Air Force, the Deutsche Luftwaffe, machine guns shooting on both sides of the barricades, single shots discharged from the pistols of insurgents, and blazing Molotov cocktails, that is bottles filled with gasoline, thrown against German tanks. Now imagine this little girl. Her name is Elizabeth. That's the surrounding playground of the 7-year-old girl who just a few weeks prior was so eager to start first grade in elementary school. Her dad is among the insurgents fighting on one of the barricades for freedom. But his fight is short-lived. The next day, field nurses bring the lifeless body of her dad into their apartment. He has fallen on the second day of the uprising. Hours later, Gestapo officers burst into the building. Raus, 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 schneller, schneller, lassen ihr alles und raus. These are the only words you could hear. Out, 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 faster, faster, leave everything and get out. So imagine that frightened little girl who just finished putting coins on her father's eyelids to keep them closed. Next, the girl and her mother are forced in a hurry to abandon their home. They must leave everything behind, all their possessions, including the precious body of her father. Her mother lifts her up and frantically goes down the staircase and leaves the building, but where to go? Little Elizabeth is crying, "Mommy, Mommy, I am so scared." Tears are rolling down both of her cheeks. "Go to the nearby church, go to the nearby church," they hear people screaming. Homeless civilians of the Wola district are all hoping to find refuge in the local parish, but a woman who understood the German language warned Elizabeth's mother, "Miss Lutomierski, don't go to the church, don't go there, they will kill you all in there." It came out later that the woman was actually right. Thousands of civilians were erschossen, shot to death in the church's front yard as well as inside where the Nazis created a transit camp. Scared for her and her only daughter's life, Elizabeth's mother is running. She is dramatically stumbling upon debris, falling down often but not letting go of her little Elizabeth clutched in her arms. She's holding her tight in a superhuman-like effort to bring her to safety, but safety does not come anytime soon. German Luftwaffe is flying over the city lower than the rooftops of the evacuated buildings, shooting furiously and directly at the innocent crowd of civilians on the streets. Elizabeth and her mother are running for hours through the tumult of heavy smoke and fire. Finally, after what felt like an infinite, tiresome and exhausting escape from the burning city, they reach railroad tracks where they board a cargo train to nowhere and leave the city limits of the living hell. The above is not fiction. It is a real story. And the little girl from it, that's my mother. Now ask yourself a question. After witnessing this horror, her father being killed, the loss of their home with all their belongings, public executions, and the miraculous escape from the burning capital city, should Elizabeth grow bitter with resentment and hate towards the Germans? Sure she could, and it would be understandable if she did. But my mother could not hold a grudge against the German nation. She forgave the Nazi oppressors. She let go of the anger and hate soon after the war was over. She knew that holding these emotions of hate would not only hold her down, but also she would probably never be able to move on and establish her own loving family. It was 4 decades after the war. I met 2 young German guys at a camp meeting, and my mom, without a trace of bitterness, allowed them to sleep over in our apartment. She catered to them and made sure they felt comfortable during their visit. There were no fake smiles or gestures. My mother's hospitality was real and coming straight from her loving heart. In 2008, I took my mom to Berlin for a weekend. She loved the city, its people, and enjoyed walking on the ground of the nation that in 1944 was occupying Poland and killed her father. I was and still am so very proud of my mother. Her inner strength and innate gift of forgiveness is something to be admired. Even though she has been haunted by the memories of the Warsaw Uprising in recurring nightmares of war during the peaceful hours of sleep, she still armed herself with the enormous strength to pass over everything that took place during World War II and beyond. So grudges? She carries none, and maybe you shouldn't either. Love, forgive, and let go of your past negative experiences in order to embrace the here and now. Thus you will build a better future for yourself and the world, one based upon inner strength, acceptance, and self-growth. I love you, Mom. And before we part, a word of advice. Approaching people with unconditional love should never make us look vulnerable, weak, needy, and gullible or blinded, especially since it is indeed easy to fall into a trap set by skillful actors. This being said, remember never to judge a book by its cover. Following Phaedra's quote, "Things are not always as they seem, the first appearance deceives many." We should be especially careful, vigilant, and always listen to the voice of our intuition while acquainting new people. Living in a world of illusion, the excessive pursuit of money and fame, people often hide behind the shield of their hypocritical and artificial exterior, concealing the true face and character. Typically guided by the spirit of competition and self-absorption, nonsensical rumors and constant criticism of others, no matter at what cost, they strive to always be first and the best everywhere and in everything they do. They are simply no less but megalomaniacs, heavily preoccupied with themselves to the exclusion of others and the outside world. They have perfected the game of their extraordinary kindness, fake eloquence, and impressive art of speech in social and business relationships, deliberately deceiving the newly acquainted friends and associates. But behind the facade of a beautiful and charming smile, their only goal is to overtake and disparage everyone and subsequently to wallow and become the center of attention. Beware of people like this. They are very dangerous. Blessed be. Thank you for listening.
You're listening to your number one radio station.
Spirituality and versatility in action. You are listening to Alukotron Free Radio Station.